Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing some Zefra test hands. So I'm really excited for this one because I'm actually doing this as a Patreon request test hand for Gloomba331. So I am really excited to do this one because I rarely ever do pendulum test hands, to be honest with you guys, and I love actually playing around with weird pendulum decks like this because they're just really overall kind of cool, especially with Zefra, because Zefra fuses so many different archetypes into one, and it's just an overall amazing and cool deck, especially going into the grind game. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification, become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below because we have some awesome rewards for you guys, like getting your name in the description for every single video, getting a signed card sent to the mail, or even getting to West deck profile just like this one every single month that you are a patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this, guys. So this is a really interesting deck, and I really want you guys to give some love down to Gloomba331 down in the comments down below, because I actually really worked hard on this deck because it's really neat with the tech cards that I'm playing in here to make this deck actually insane. It's really fun and really weird at the same time because Zefra is kind of one of those weird decks because it already fuses a bunch of different archetypes into one, but I actually fused like a bunch of archetypes into this deck to make it Zefra focused, but it has some other neat, cool aspects in the build as well. Everything from, like, you'll probably see it, but like Txnes, I have Badalshays in here. I have primary focus is Zefra, where you're playing just with the Zefra cards, but you have a couple of different interesting tech monsters that come from other archetypes that's super weird for this deck, but it really, really works. So let's go ahead and get into this. I will, if I don't draw into it right off the bat, I will go ahead and show you guys how to get into a True King of all calamities very, very, very easy in this deck. But let's go ahead and shuffle the deck and see what we can pull off. So for the first test hand, let's go ahead and draw, and we're going to get a Divine Strike, Zefra Path, Madalshay Mageline, Psyframe Driver, and a Psyframe Gamma. So this is not the greatest opening hand, but it's not terrible at the same time because you do have the Gamma and you do have the Driver. You usually want to go second in a Pendulum deck, in my opinion, in a deck like this, but you have plenty of plays to actually go in with this particular hand. So you can just do something very simple like normal summon out a copy of Mageline. Now this is why you actually play the copy of Mageline. It's either to bait a hand trap or to be able to search to summon out a copy of the Petting. Because if you summon out the Petting right... where is she? She's in here. Where'd she go? You summon out her out from the deck. Her, right here. You special summon her out from your hand. Her second effect does not trigger. You don't want to trigger that second effect where it special summons out another Madalshay monster, because it just doesn't come in handy here, because especially since it changes the level of the monster. But special summoning her as long as you don't have a monster in your graveyard is totally fine. So if you put these two monsters on your field and then do something very simple like going into a copy of Redoer, you can have some really neat plays with this particular hand, especially if you just pass here, because the Redoer is going to bump itself off the field by taking a monster off your opponent's side of the field. It's going to banish itself, and then you have the copy of your Gamma that's going to be able to special summon itself if you don't have the copy of Redoer, because Redoer's ability is that once per turn during the standby phase, you can attach the top card of your opponent's deck, and then depending on which one you banish it until the end phase, so it can really help you out with the copy of Gamma, and then during the end phase, it comes back to your side of the field because you'll have the Driver and the Gamma on your side of the field. Now, you didn't really draw into any Pendulum cards that time, so let's go ahead, and I'm actually going to show you guys, I wanted to show you guys what the draw was like sometimes in this deck. That was kind of a brick, but you don't really brick every single time. Like, when I was playing on Yugioh Pro with this, I very rarely bricked with this deck. I mean, it was like 1 in 10. But I guess we just drew the luck of the draw this time of actually breaking. So let's go ahead and see if we can... let's just draw one more, and then I'll show you guys the True King play after this. Because you can go into Calamities ridiculously easy in this build. So let's go ahead and see what we can do in this next one. So we're going to go ahead and draw 5. We're going to go first this round. So let's see what we can do. So we're going to draw into not that bad of a hand, actually. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to activate the copy of Rhoda. So Rhoda is going to grab our only warrior monsters that we have in the deck. You either have the Stellar Knight Zefra monster, and I think the other one's a Fiend. Let me double check that really quick. I'm pretty sure the other one's a Fiend. I think this is our only target that you're really going to search in the deck. Yeah, he's a Fiend. So we're just going to search this out of the deck, but that's totally fine because all we want is that Pendulum Scale of 1. That's really important to get that Pendulum Scale of 1 out on our side of the field. Now, if you want to bait the Ash first, if you don't want to do this first, you don't have to do this first. You can actually just set this to the side. We're going to put this on the bottom of the deck, and I'm going to show you what you can do as well. You can normal summon out the copy of Mageline, and if you normal summon out that Mageline, you're going to get your play off with, if you think your opponent has a hand trap, you can normal summon this. But what I would recommend is doing that first, where you're going to grab that copy of the Stellar Knight first with a copy of your Rhoda, because you do have the Zefra Path in your hand that can activate only if you control 2 Zefra monsters in your Pendulum Zone, and then you activate scales of 1 and 7, which we will. And if this card is activated, you shuffle all monsters into the deck except for Zefra monsters, and neither player can special summon monsters except from the hand or the extra deck. So you can't special summon from the graveyard or the deck. So that's totally fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and activate the copy of Oracle of Zefra. Oracle of Zefra is really important because you're going to grab from your deck to your hand a copy of Zefrath directly from your deck, because this card is very pivotal to the play. Again, like I said in the deck profile, if you guys want to check out the deck profile, and especially Gloomba, so they can check out this deck profile, it is down in the description, so you guys can see that as well. So let's go ahead and see what we can pull off with the rest of this. So once you grab the Zefrath, this is a true king play. So what you're going to do is you're going to activate the copy of Zefrath here, and you're going to activate the copy of the Stellar Knight over here. So once you have that, you can actually use the Zefrath's effect that puts a copy of your Secret of the Yang Zing into the extra deck, which makes its pendulum scale 7. So it makes your copy of Zefra Path live now, because you can activate it when you have the scale of 7 and 1. So we're going to go ahead and activate it. We don't control any monsters, so that's totally fine. So now at this point, you can pendulum summon onto your side of the field if you want to pendulum summon. Now the only other thing that you could do in this particular hand is if you had a copy of the Yang Zing play, the other Yang Zing monster, you could really go off, but you don't. So you can't really go Calamities this turn, but we're still going to have some really neat plays. So we're going to go ahead and pendulum summon out for the monsters that we have. We're going to go ahead and summon out the copy of the Zephyr, Secret of the Yang Zing, and we're going to search out a copy of, I probably would add the Providence from deck to hand. I think this can add any Zephyr monster or any Zephyr card. When this card's pendulum summoned while or destroyed by card effects, you can add Zephyr or Yang Zing spell or trap. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and add this so we can add exactly the monster that we need. And then the copy of Mageline. When this card is on your side of the field, when this card is normal or flip summon, we're not going to pendulum summon this out, we'll normal summon this out so we can still get the play off. And we don't have a monster in the graveyard. So we're going to go ahead and pendulum summon for 2. And we're going to add from deck to hand the Divine Strike. Divine Strike is going to be the big card that you want to get off of this. And we're going to kind of hold from here because you have the plays to go into more plays later. So I would just hold here and normal summon out the copy of Mageline. So we're going to activate that. We're going to activate the Sever Providence, add the copy of Divine Strike, and this will go to the graveyard, which will protect something. Set the copy of Divine Strike right here, and then normal summon out your copy of Mageline. Mageline's effect will search a copy of your, where is it? There it is. Your copy of Petting, which is going to help out a lot. And then you can special summon out the copy of Petting, and you have all these monsters on your side of the field now. You have plenty of plays in the extra deck to go into a lot of different stuff. So in this particular scenario, you could link away 3 of these monsters. You could do something like I would do, and I would link these 2 away and summon out a copy of the Immovable Charmer, which is something that I do a lot in this particular build. And then you could link away these and summon out your copy of Selene if you want to summon out Selene, because Selene will get you a search or get you to special summon back that copy of your Mageline back from the graveyard, but you'd have to summon her up here. The only other thing that you could go into, which is what I recommend personally, is I would go into a copy of the Draco Masters. Draco Masters is one of those tech cards that I was telling you guys about. Now, the really cool thing is this card cannot be destroyed by battle except by a normal monster. So that can be a really hard to out card against your opponent. And then the zones are really nice against your opponent. You're locking your opponent down from graveyard and extra deck, which is really nice. And then you also have the copy of the Divine Strike set. So you can negate something by just sending a copy of a monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, which these would actually go to the extra deck if they're linked away. So you just banish 1 face-up Zephyr monster from your extra deck and negate the activation if you destroy it of any card, which is pretty good. And then if we draw for turn, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle the deck because we did go into the deck. If we get to keep this field, let's just go ahead and say that we activated the Divine Strike and the petting went to the graveyard, but we got to keep our Draco Masters. If we draw, we're going to draw into a Zefra, which is not bad. So once you draw into the Zefra, you can just use your Zefra effect to be able to put in your extra deck the copy of the Yang Zing. Now we're going to banish this because this is not super needed for the copy of Divine Strike. You got to pay cost for that Divine Strike. So once we send the copy of the level 1 Yang Zing monster, you don't really want to, I really wouldn't go for that. I would probably go for another one of the Zefra Nui, because then you can make some really crazy plays. Let's go for that, because then I can get it out of the deck anyways. So we're going to go ahead and do it this way. So we're going to Pendulum Summon for 2. We're going to summon out these 2 onto our side of the field, and one of them I believe will trigger because you can only use it once per turn, and we're going to summon Zefra Providence. We're going to add that Zefra Providence from the deck to our hand, which is this right here. And then once you add this, you're going to activate it and then grab a Zefra monster from the deck, which is going to be literally anyone that you particularly need in this scenario. You have a lot of plays with this particular deck. So it doesn't really matter which one you grab at this point because you have plenty of plays. I would probably grab the Zefraxin and just grab that from the deck to your side of the field, and then you can normal summon it out with a 1900 beat stick as well. And you still have your copy of your 2 monsters on your side of the field, which we can overlay into a copy of Sheridan if you want to go into that. And then you have a play to get rid of a monster. And then also, if you XZ summon, you can draw a card and then discard a card as well, which we don't need that, so we're just going to immediately discard it to the graveyard. And you have a pretty good play here. I mean, you have a 1900, a 26, and a 26 here. And you searched out of the deck the copy of your particular monster that you needed. You didn't grab off that, excuse me. We didn't grab off that. Yeah, we did. No, we didn't. Yeah, we did. We grabbed that. So I was like, wait a minute. But yeah, you grab that, and then let's go ahead, and that's not a bad test hand at all because you get a pop here, and then you get to take a monster, and then you have 19, you have 26 and 26 right there, so you have a pretty decent board. You locked your opponent down as well. So let me go ahead and show you guys how you actually get out True King of all Calamities in this deck, which is pretty easy. All you'll need in your hand is either a copy of Providence, a copy of the level 7, you'll need Providence, you'll need the copy of Zefra, and you'll need the little treasure, or you'll need a copy. You'll either need Zefra and this. This is all you'll really need. Like, this is ideal hand that I'm going to show you guys. So let's go ahead and say that that's our opening hand, which is not super hard to actually get out, but these are the cards that are necessary to get to. There's different ways that you can actually get to those cards in the deck without just hard drawing them, so we're just going to say that this is our opening hand. So let's go ahead and put those there and draw for turn. So with this particular hand, you have plenty of plays to go into. We're just going to go ahead and activate the copy of Oracle, which Oracle could grab you the particular piece that you need, which is totally fine. We're going to go ahead and grab the level 1. Let's grab a level 1 scale, because the 1 scale is going to help us out quite a lot because we're going to need to summon that one. We're going to go ahead and grab out the copy of the Treasure of the Yang Zing, shuffle this deck up really quick, and we're going to go in for some insane plays. So now that we've gone into this play, we're going to go ahead and activate Zefra, and we're going to activate the copy of the Treasure of the Yang Zing. And you also have the copy of the Providence, which we're going to activate. You don't have to have this in the hand. Really, all you need is these 2 in Oracle, and you're fine to go into your copy of the True King of all Calamities, because you're going to stack the deck anyways. Really, you just need these in the Oracle, or this card in your hand to grab the card that you need, that you're missing. So now that we grab that, we're going to grab Path. Path is just going to set us up for more plays and help us out a lot more. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that that's what we grab off that, because this lets us add any Zefra card from the deck to the hand. So we're going to activate Path. It doesn't shuffle anything back, so we don't control any monsters. And then now I'm going to activate the copy of Zefra to put our copy of the Secret of the Yang Zing on the top of the deck. So now that we've done that, we're going to Pendulum Summon for 2 onto our side of the field. This is going to target this and turn it into a tuner monster. So these are this is a tuner and this is not. And then you can normal summon out your copy of Magdalene if you want us to normal summon out the copy of Magdalene, just to go ahead and get you another monster on the field. And we're going to special summon out the copy of Petting to our side of the field. It doesn't lock us into Madolches because we're not special summoning that additional Madolche from the deck, so that's something very important to keep in mind, that a lot of people have a misconception about that particular card. So Now that we have the petting on your side of the field, you have plenty of plays to go into. So we're going to go ahead and synchro summon these two monsters into a copy of the Crocosaurus. So once you summon the Ravenous Croc, we're going to summon that to our side of the field, and we are going to chain link. This is very important. Chain link 1, chain link 2. Stack the deck, then draw a card, because you used one monster that was not a Pendulum monster. These go in the extra deck, excuse me. Now that this triggers, we're going to put on top of the decks our one proxy card, which is our Gizmet Kaku. We're going to put that on top of the deck, and then we're going to, oh my god, we drew a Kaku. Now we're going to special summon out the Kaku to our side of the field, and now we have 2 level 9s that we can overlay these two. Because you control a monster in the extra monster zone, you can special summon this card to your side of the field. This will also get you a search, which we totally forgot to search, which is going to get you the Divine Strike when it was special summoned to the field. We totally forgot about the Divine Strike, so you're going to get the Divine Strike to get you an extra negate on your side of the field. Set the Divine Strike. Now you overlay these two, and you go directly into a True King of all Calamities, and then you can overlay these two if you want to, and go into a copy of... You could go into Redoer if you want to go into Redoer, or you can go into a copy of your Gallant Granite, and then grab a copy of Nibiru or another Zefra from your deck. So it depends on kind of what you want to do with that particular play. And you did XZ summon using a copy of a you'd only activate one effect at this turn, but you could activate this instead if you want to and draw a card, which then you have a negate here. You have a card rip here. You have this on the field to negate monster effects. They can't special summon from deck. They can't special summon from graveyard. They can only special summon from hand or extra deck. And so you have pretty much made it locked down against your opponent. So if we draw for turn, we're going to draw into a Zefra. When you draw the Zefra, you can use the copy of the Zefra here. And you can put a monster in your extra deck if you want to. The particular one that you want to have the scale of. So I would usually put the 7 if I have a 1. I put the 7 if I have the 1. If I have the 7 on the field, I put the 1 in the extra deck. You kind of just, that's the really big thing about Zefra, is you want to put the 1 if you have a 7 on the field, and if you have a 7, then you put a 1. Essentially. You want to have varying scales. So now that we have this on our side of the field, you can Pendulum Summon if you want to. I'm just going to Pendulum Summon for 1, which is going to be the Zefra monster out of our side of the deck, or out of our deck, which is going to search us to Providence, which then you can activate the Providence and grab a copy of any of the Zefra monsters or any of the Zefra cards in your entire deck, which is whatever you want. It doesn't really matter what you grab at this point, because you're just going to probably Link Summon anyways. I usually grab my Beat Stick monster. Oh, or if I need to pop something on the field, I'll grab a copy of him, because he can let me pop a card on the field and pop a Zefra on my side of the field. So it kind of depends on which way you want to go. But since we're just doing test hands, I'll just grab the copy of the 1900 Stellar Knight. And so now you have a board that looks a little bit like this. You can normal summon this card out. You can link summon these two together if you want to, and bounce something with the copy of the Phoenix, which is going to help out a lot. You can also detach if you want for the material for the copy of the True King. You can discard this, pop a spell or trap, and then you have all these monsters on your side of the field that you can just deal with your opponent with, and you have this really insane board. So that's pretty much it for the test hands of your Zefra deck. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this. It's really interesting the way that the deck plays. And it's really easy to understand for a Pendulum deck, to be honest with you guys. It just stacks the deck, essentially, with the Oracle using the Synchro effect of the Oracle of Zefra. That's the big thing about this. Path is super nice, because if you drop the Path against your opponent, they can't special summon from deck or graveyard, which is really cool. The only thing that you kind of have to watch out for is you don't want to activate it once you've established a board, because it will shuffle all your monsters except for your Zefras back into the deck, which kind of sucks, so don't do that. And it just throws out so many big beat stick monsters and control-based boards. It's ridiculous. So, highly recommend that you guys check out the deck profile if you have not checked out the deck profile of this deck. It's really, really cool. And definitely shout-outs to Gloomba. Really thankful that you are wanting to see Zefra, because this is a really fun deck. I really enjoy playing around with Zefras. I really enjoyed building this particular deck. It was a lot of fun. And I really enjoyed playing around with it for the test hands. I mean, the only thing that you got to make sure is don't send your Pendulum monsters to the graveyard, because they go to the extra deck. I mean, that's kind of something that you kind of got to watch out for if you're not playing Pendulums all the time, because usually you get in that muscle memory of sending them to grave, but they actually go to extra deck. So that's it for this test hand, guys. Definitely show Gloomba331 some love down in the comments down below and thank them for this deck profile. I'm really excited to actually do the next one for them next month. But anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next to come for our notification squad, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.